name is Luke Pace, and welcome back to everyone who is already a subscriber to the YouTube channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great, including the one coming at you right now. Super excited to have the Lledo brothers back on the show, both victorious, just a few days removed from their CFFC fights for CFFC Next Gen 1. I had James Lledo on fight week. He was very nice to come on, and he had a title fight, which is the main event of Next Gen 1. And Jack, his younger brother, was also on that card.
Thanks for having us. So much for having us.
It's always great to have you guys on the show. And now I can say that one of you is still undefeated. Jack is now 3-0 as an amateur MMA fighter. And the champ, we got to get to both of your fights. Obviously, you got the championship belt. So I feel like we want to talk about that. But I also want to give Jack his shine. He went earlier in the night. And it was a great fight, taking it all the way, getting a good amount of cage time. But what round really felt the best to you?
I think I was sharp throughout the whole fight, but I like how I set the pace and the tone in the first round.
That's a great mindset to have. And you mentioned the idea of ground and pound. And now that you're 3-0, what are you looking forward to the most? I think you already said it, but your next fight hopefully will be advanced amateur, which means longer rounds instead of 6-minute fights total. It'll be 3-minute rounds, so 9-minute fights. You're allowed punches to the ground, aka ground and pound, and no shin guards. So it looks more like a profile fight. What are you looking forward to most? Longer rounds, ground and pound. What are you looking forward to when it goes to advanced amateur?
Yeah. Well, CFFC actually had the 3-minute rounds and the no shin pads, which was
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
But I mean, the ground and pound is huge. I think that's just going to open up so much of not only my ground and pound game, but opening up submission. So I think that's just I'm really gonna show off and I'm gonna take advantage of those rules.
Well, that is great. Well, then one question on the fact that you already did a 9-minute round. Now you guys are both high-level wrestlers, so your gas tanks aren't an issue at all. But what did it feel like being able to push the pace for the 9 minutes?
It was nice. It was a testament to my hard work. I came in in really good shape, probably the best shape of my life, and controlled and obviously wrestling's exhausting, but to be able to do that and initiate the grappling the whole time for 9 minutes, it's a big advantage to me because I mean I don't think anybody's ever really gonna come in there better shape than me to get used to it, especially.
Well, that is great. Getting to the champ now. Were you able to watch his fight? He was a few fights before you, or did you have to wait until the replay to watch it once your fight was done?
No,
I was downstairs and I got to watch.
Wins on that card. So we've already talked about kind of how it feels to fight on the same card. You guys are gamers and you really encourage each other, but you also focus on your own fights. But to you, now you were minutes away or half hour away, whatever it ended up being from your title fight. So you were watching it kind of as you're warming up. But what stood out to you? Was it the pace? Was it his wrestling? His well-rounded MMA skill set? To you watching it live, what stood out to you?
Well, I always have the utmost faith that Jack's going to go out there and do his best. So I'm not ever worried about the things that he can control in terms of his effort and things. But like to go watch him go out there and put it all together and have the performance that he did was very uh refreshing and like one of the best things it does for me is that it really gets me excited to go out there because I see him go and do his absolute best and it just makes me full of energy to go out there and do my best. It helps me so much.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Great feedback. You guys are super, not only competitive, but super encouraging brothers to each other. And you've stated on many of the interviews you've done with me that the goal is for both of you to be fighting in the UFC together, to have a great brother duo in the UFC. And I can't wait to kind of see that come to fruition as you continue. So after Jack won, like you said, it feeds you, it gives you confidence. You already had confidence, but it's a good feeling. So walk us through your whole process. First time fighting for a belt. It was a main event. It was their first ever pure next gen all amateur card for CFFC. So walk me through what stood out to you as you got closer to the first round and then into the fight itself.
Um, Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Sure, sure. What stood out to you prior to the fight actually kicking off? Was it the walkout, the crowd, the environment? Going into a title fight main event.
Well, I was talking about this a lot the past day. That was the best I've ever felt, and I attribute that to treating this like any other day. And like I was telling him that I honestly felt like I was just gonna go spar one of my friends, except I was gonna beat him up. Like I was gonna try to beat him up. And like I was so relaxed in there, nothing felt out of place. Like I was aware, I was present, and that was the best I've ever felt, despite it being absolutely the biggest opportunity I've ever had.
Well, that goes a lot to your mindset. You had mentioned it with Jack, the control, the controllables. You have confidence in what he can control, and it sounds like you were really in the zone when it came to what you could control and what you brought into the fight. You were fighting a now former undefeated fighter who was 3-0 coming into it. You had said a lot of great things about the matchup. People can watch your previous fight. You have a lot of respect to the level of competition. Walk us through the fight. Ended up only being one round, and you got the finish. So talk to me through the first round.
You know, uh, I felt pretty calm in there, and it was back and forth for a minute. Like he hit me with some good shots. He was very strong, and he was game and ready to come to fight, and I appreciated that. But I was ready for anything. I was ready to weather the storm. Like it could have been 10 seconds or gone the full 9 minutes, and I knew I was ready for that by the way that I felt. And regardless of what was coming back at me, I was ready for anything. I was present the whole time. And the wrestling exchanges and the striking exchanges, everything felt really good. And being on the stool, getting ready to go into the second round, that was honest. Like once again, like that was the best and the calmest I've ever felt going into a second round. And I know that I was ready to keep going and finish the fight regardless. But that first round was definitely, I was happy the way it went. It was a high pace, and I definitely feel like I controlled it. And there was definitely like some adversity there, but the way I handled it is what makes me really proud of that performance.
Well, it's an absolute performance that you can be proud of. Thanks for giving us a rundown on the first round. What, to your understanding, what led to the doctor stoppage? Obviously, you were already back to your stool. Your opponent made it technically to the end of the round. You guys were on your stool, and then at some point, the doctor said he was unfit to continue. Are you aware of kind of what led to that, or is it sort of unknown?
From my understanding, he told somebody he couldn't see, and that was why it didn't continue. Like I don't, the doctor didn't step in and look at his eye just because he wanted to, or he said to somebody that he couldn't see, and that's like a big no-no. Like as soon as you say that, the fight's over. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what happened, from what I understand.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. To your point, even though it's a violent sport and has a lot of potential risks, there are a lot of safety measures, doctors, corners, referees, and so fighter safety does come first. And yes, of course, if somebody says they don't want to continue, they can't continue, or they can't see or anything like that, the fight gets stopped. You had mentioned that there was a lot of action in the first round. Were your strikes mainly on the feet, or had you been landing ground and pound?
I was landing a lot of ground and pound. I had three takedowns, I believe. No, I have two takedowns, and then I swept him with a calf kick and got on top. But every single time I was on top, I was in full mount, raining down punches. But he got out from bottom one time and hit me clean a couple times on the break, and that was what I was talking about, the way that I handled it, I was happy with that because I stayed calm, got out of the way, and slowed it down and was able to take control back of the fight in a spot where things weren't so good. So, but yeah, every time I was on top, I was raining down punches. The last exchange where I swept him with a calf kick and was on top of him, the ref was telling him to fight back. So I know it was close to being stopped, but he made it to the end of the round.
Sure. Well, that certainly makes a lot of sense with the then to the doctor stoppage. You know, it was almost finished at the end of the round, and then obviously he was unable to continue. Well, you know, one of the exciting parts about having you guys on together is you both had very dominant wins. A dominant decision win is super impressive. Kale Sonnen makes the case that winning a unanimous decision over the 3 rounds is, you know, takes more, you know, skill over a longer period of time because you've got to control. Of course, his wrestling background, he likes the control aspect. Obviously, getting a stoppage is in many ways the goal each time because then you don't have to worry about the judges. So you both have had very impressive wins. Let's start with Jack. We already talked about the fact that your next fight hopefully will be advanced amateur with a record of 3-0. Talk a little about that. Are you looking to fight a certain time frame? You do have, I believe, another wrestling season coming up. And if you're not going to take a fight before wrestling season, of course, that makes sense. So what's kind of the time frame, the game plan for you as you're still a Division One wrestler?
Yeah, I don't think I have time to fight again. I'm going back to school here in like 4 weeks. So
Sure.
I'd wanna fight again. I feel like I could fight like right now. I feel great, but I just don't think it's realistic. So I'll probably be looking to fight again in April of next year, hopefully. Hopefully for a belt. If any promoters are watching this, I'm ready for a title shot. But yeah, I have the wrestling season. I got business to handle on the mat, and then I'll be back.
Absolutely. I mean, that's something your older brother, now known as the champ, also did. You know, wrestling Division One and then fighting usually April or May. You've done that now. The champ has done it before, and that obviously makes a ton of sense. For people that are interested in what the champ's going to be doing wrestling wise, we talked about that in his fight in the fight week interview, which was great that he's going to be wrestling Division Three, which is close to my heart, and I can't wait to have both of you guys can come back on to talk about wrestling during the season. We had already talked about that with the champ, having you come back on and talk about how things are going. A first year Division Three wrestling program, but for you, what I would imagine you're also looking at wrestling next. What does having the belt mean now? And have CFFC talked to you about potentially defending it? I'm not sure what their expectation is, given the fact that this was the first pure next gen event and you headlined it and won it.
Definitely got to defend it at least once, and then I plan on turning pro after that. But 100%, defend it one more time in October at the next card, and then go from there.
Okay, I mean that makes perfect sense. I know you enough to know that you would definitely want. You've always said it. You don't turn down fights. You want to take tough fights. You've taken tough fights your whole career. I still remember you as 1-0 fighting Ken Burrs 1-0, which was, you know, even though it was just a 1-0 matchup, that was a high level, high caliber fight. Super, a lot of hype, a lot of pressure behind it, and you've always been chasing tough fights your whole career. And hats off to you for getting the belt and being willing to defend it. Can't wait to have you back on in the October. Now for the wrestling time frame, I know you said you only have one more semester of eligibility left. Are you not wrestling until sort of the winter or spring semester? How is that going to work? Because you only have one semester left, and I know you're going to want to time it for the national time frame, right? Because you want to see what you can do at the national level, I believe.
Yeah, main focus is the second half where the postseason is.
Look at that. I put all that together. I knew enough about the season. It's an interesting season because it goes 2 semesters. So, well, I appreciate you guys both coming back on. It's been incredible to have the victorious Lledo brothers back on. Thanks so much for coming on. You've been listening to Luke